Picture this, a proud Marine, decorated with honor, stands tall in his uniform. He's here for one reason, to witness his son's graduation. But what happens next will leave you speechless. Two guards approach, their faces stern and unyielding. They demand the Marine leave, citing some obscure rule. The tension in the room is palpable. You can hear a pin drop as everyone holds their breath, wondering what will happen next. But wait, there's more. Just when you think all hope is lost, four Navy SEALs emerge from the crowd. These elite warriors, known for their bravery and unwavering loyalty, are about to turn this situation on its head. What happens next is a testament to brotherhood, honor, and the unbreakable bond between those who serve. You won't believe how these SEALs handle the situation, leaving everyone in the room stunned into silence. This isn't just another graduation story. This is a tale of courage, respect, and standing up for what's right. And trust me, you'll want to stick around to see how it unfolds. The Marine, let's call him Sergeant Johnson, had served his country with distinction for over 2 decades. He'd been through hell and back, facing dangers most of us can't even imagine. But today, he wasn't here as a soldier. He was here as a father, bursting with pride to see his son, young Johnson, receive his diploma. As Sergeant Johnson made his way to his seat, decked out in his full dress blues, he couldn't help but smile. This was a moment he'd dreamed of for years. But that dream was about to turn into a nightmare. To security guards, their faces set in stone, approached the Marine. "Sir," one of them said, his voice cold and authoritative, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Sergeant Johnson was stunned. "Excuse me?" he asked, certain he must have misheard. "You heard me," the guard replied. "No uniforms allowed at the ceremony. It's policy." The Marine's face fell. He'd traveled across the country for this moment. And now these guards were trying to rob him of it. The crowd around them began to murmur, sensing the tension in the air. But Sergeant Johnson wasn't about to back down. He stood his ground, his voice steady as he explained, "This uniform represents years of service to our country. I have every right to wear it proudly, especially on a day like today." The guards weren't budging. They moved closer, their hands hovering near their belts. The situation was escalating and fast. Just when it seemed like things were about to boil over, a voice cut through the tension. "Is there a problem here?" Four men, each built like a brick house, stepped forward. They were civilian clothes, but there was no mistaking the way they carried themselves. These were Navy SEALs, the elite of the elite. The lead SEAL, a man with piercing blue eyes and a jawline that could cut glass, locked eyes with the guards. "This Marine," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "has earned the right to wear that uniform anywhere he damn well pleases." The guards hesitated, suddenly realizing they might be in over their heads. But they weren't ready to back down just yet. "Look," one of them said, trying to sound tough, "we don't make the rules. We just enforce them." The SEAL's eyes narrowed. "And we," he said, gesturing to his teammates, "enforce something far more important. Honor. Respect. The very values this Marine has fought to protect." The room had gone deathly quiet. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. One of the other SEALs stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of steel. "Gentlemen," he said to the guards, "I suggest you reconsider your position. This man has bled for his country. He's faced enemies that would make your knees shake. And you want to deny him the right to see his son graduate?" The guards looked at each other, uncertainty creeping into their expressions. They were starting to realize they'd made a terrible mistake. The third SEAL spoke up, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You know, I'm curious. What exactly in your job description gives you the authority to disrespect a decorated Marine? Because I'd love to have a chat with your supervisor about that." The fourth SEAL, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried throughout the room. "In all my years of service," he said, "I've never seen such a blatant disregard for the sacrifices our military makes. It's shameful." The guards were visibly sweating now. They knew they were fighting a losing battle. But pride is a stubborn thing, and they made one last attempt to save face. "Look," one of them said, his voice wavering, "we're just trying to do our jobs." The lead SEAL stepped forward, his presence filling the room. "And we're just trying to make sure you do it right," he said. "Now, are you going to let this Marine stay and watch his son graduate, or do we need to escalate this further?" The threat was clear, and the guards finally backed down. They mumbled apologies and quickly retreated, leaving Sergeant Johnson standing tall, surrounded by his brothers in arms. The SEALs turned to the Marine, each of them offering a respectful nod. "Enjoy your sons graduation, Sergeant," the lead SEAL said. "You've more than earned it." As the SEALs melted back into the crowd, a slow applause began to build. It grew louder and louder until the entire room was on its feet, cheering for the Marine and the men who stood up for him. Sergeant Johnson stood there, overwhelmed by emotion. He'd faced many challenges in his career, but he never expected to find such unwavering support here at his son's graduation. As the ceremony began, the Marine took his seat, his chest swelling with pride. He wasn't just there to see his son graduate. He was there as a living testament to the values of honor, courage, and commitment that he'd instilled in his boy. And as young Johnson walked across the stage to receive his diploma, Sergeant Johnson stood up, his uniform gleaming under the lights. This time, no one dared to tell him to sit down or leave. The room fell silent once again, but this time it was out of respect. Respect for a father who had sacrificed so much. Respect for a Marine who had served his country with honor. And respect for the unbreakable bond between those who put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms. As the last notes of pomp and circumstance faded away, Sergeant Johnson embraced his son, both of them standing tall and proud. And in that moment, everyone in that room understood the true meaning of service, sacrifice, and the power of standing up for what's right. This wasn't just a graduation ceremony anymore. It was a lesson in courage, respect, and the unbreakable spirit of those who serve. And it's a lesson that none of those present would ever forget. So the next time you see someone in uniform, remember this story. Remember the sacrifices they've made, the courage they've shown, and the respect they deserve. Because in the end, it's not about rules or regulations. It's about honor, integrity, and the willingness to stand up for what's right, no matter the cost. And that, my friends, is a lesson worth learning, a story worth telling, and a moment worth remembering. Because in a world that often seems divided, it's these moments of unity, of standing together in the face of injustice, that remind us of what truly matters. So here's to the Marines, the SEALs, and all those who serve. May we never forget their sacrifices, and may we always have the courage to stand up for what's right, just like those for SEALs did on that unforgettable day.